The last shots of the war echoed through space near Nexus Prime. Admiral Veltar watched from his command ship as the final Krex battleship exploded in a ball of fire. His own fleet was in ruins too. Of the 200 ships he had brought to this battle, only 30 remained. The rest were floating metal and bodies in the cold darkness. Veltar's communication officer looked up from his station. "Sir, we are getting a message from the Krex Supreme Commander Thok." "Put it on screen," Veltar said. He was tired, so very tired of this war that had been going on for 300 years. The ugly face of Supreme Commander Thok appeared on the main screen. The Krex leader looked as exhausted as Veltar felt. Behind Thok, smoke filled his bridge and sparks flew from damaged equipment. "Admiral Veltar," Thok said in his rough voice, "we cannot continue this. Both our fleets are destroyed. Both our worlds are dying." Veltar nodded slowly. "I agree, Supreme Commander. This war has taken everything from us." "Then let us end it here," Thok said. "No more fighting. We divide the galaxy between us. You take your half, we take ours." It was not victory, but it was not defeat either. Veltar looked around his damaged bridge. His crew was young now. All the old warriors were dead. These children should not have to die for a war that started before they were born. "Very well," Veltar said. "We will create a neutral zone between our territories. Neither side will cross it." "Agreed," Thok said. "We will place automated defense stations to watch the border." After the communication ended, Veltar felt both relief and sadness. The war was over, but at such a cost. Half of all Zephyrian worlds were in ruins. Billions were dead. It would take generations to rebuild. Far away from this historic moment, Captain Jake Morris sat in his small reconnaissance ship called the New Horizon. He watched the alien fleets limp away from each other through his long-range sensors. Jake was human, and his people had been secretly watching this war for months. Jake was a quiet man with brown hair and calm eyes. He had been in space for most of his adult life, exploring beyond the edges of human territory. His mission was simple: watch and learn. Do not make contact. Do not interfere. Just gather information about these alien species and send reports back to Earth. The New Horizon was built for stealth and observation. It was small, fast, and nearly invisible to most sensors. Jake had been following the war fleets for weeks, recording everything. The way they fought, the weapons they used, how their ships were built. All of it went into his reports. Jake opened a communication channel to Earth. It would take months for his message to reach home, but he sent regular updates anyway. "This is Captain Morris, New Horizon Reconnaissance Mission, Day 215, he spoke into his recorder. "The war between the Zephyrian Empire and the Krex Coalition appears to be over. Both fleets have suffered massive losses. I estimate each side has lost 80% of their ships." Jake paused and looked at his sensor readings. "From what I have observed, both species are exhausted. Their technology is advanced but inefficient. Their tactics are predictable. Their ships are powerful but poorly designed for real combat." He thought about what he had seen during the war. The aliens fought like they were following a rule book. They lined up their ships and traded shots until one side broke. They never tried surprise attacks or clever maneuvers. It was like watching two giants punch each other until both fell down. Recommendation: continue observation. These species may pose a threat to human expansion, but they are currently weak. This may be our opportunity to establish a presence in this galaxy. Jake closed the communication and settled back in his chair. His ship drifted silently through space, hidden among the debris of the great battle. Around him, the wrecked ships of two civilizations slowly spun in the darkness. On the Zephyrian homeworld, billions watched their leader address the nation. Admiral Veltar stood before the Grand Assembly, his uniform torn and dirty from battle. "My people," he said, "the war is over. We have paid a terrible price, but we have survived. Now we must rebuild." The crowd was silent. Many had lost family, members in the fighting. Cities lay in ruins from Krek's bombardments. Food was scarce, and medical supplies were running low. "We will divide the galaxy with the Kreks," Veltar continued. "There will be peace. Our children will not have to fight this war." Some in the crowd cheered, but most just looked tired. Peace was good, but it felt empty after so much loss. On the Krek's homeworld, Supreme Commander Thok gave a similar speech to his people. The Kreks were a warrior race, proud and fierce. Ending the war without total victory felt like defeat to many of them. "We are not defeated," Thok told his generals. "We are making a strategic choice. Our enemy is as weak as we are. Time will make us strong again." But privately, Thok worried. The Krek's military was broken. Their best ships were scrap metal. Their finest warriors were dead. It would take decades to recover, and the Zephyrians would be recovering too. Neither side knew about the small human ship watching them. Neither side knew that their galaxy had already caught the attention of a species that had been preparing for war among the stars for generations. Jake Morris continued his silent watch as both alien fleets retreated to their home territories. His sensors tracked every ship, recorded every communication, mapped every world they passed. The data would be invaluable when humanity decided what to do next. The war was over, but Jake had a feeling that a much larger conflict was about to begin. He had read the classified reports about human military development. Earth had been building ships and weapons based on captured alien technology for years. The human fleet was unlike anything these aliens had seen. As Jake prepared his ship for the long journey home, he thought about the future. The aliens thought their war was the end of something. They did not realize it was just the beginning. Behind him, the debris from the Battle of Nexus Prime continued to drift through space. Among the wreckage, automated beacons began broadcasting the terms of the peace treaty. The galaxy was divided. The war was over. But somewhere in the darkness between the stars, humanity was coming. 6 months had passed since the Great War ended. On the Zephyrian research station orbiting the gas giant Kepler-7, Dr. Kess stared at her sensor readings with growing confusion. The young scientist had short purple hair and large yellow eyes that showed her worry clearly. "Computer, run the scan again," she said for the 5th time that morning. The results were the same. Strange energy signatures appeared at the edge of Zephyrian space, lasting only a few minutes before disappearing completely. The patterns did not match any known Krek's technology. In fact, they did not match any technology she had ever seen. Dr. Kess had studied alien tech for 10 years. She knew every type of engine, every kind of weapon, every communication system used by both the Zephyrians and the Kreks. These readings were something entirely different. She saved her data and walked quickly to Commander Zix's office. The commander was an old soldier who had fought in the war for 50 years. He was tired and wanted nothing more than peace and quiet. "Commander," Dr. Kess said as she entered his office, "I need to show you something important." Commander Zix looked up from his reports with annoyance. "What now, Doctor? Another false alarm about space pirates? No, sir. This is different. Dr. Kess placed her data pad on his desk. Look at these energy readings from Sector 7. Commander Zix glanced at the screen without much interest. Sensor ghosts, he said dismissively. We see them all the time. After big battles, all that weapon fire and exploding ships leave traces in space. But, sir, these readings are organized. They appear in patterns. Sensor ghosts are random. Doctor, Commander Zix said, with the patience of someone explaining something to a child, we fought a 300-year war. There is debris and energy, residue everywhere. Your sensors are picking up echoes of old battles. Dr. Kess tried again. The pattern suggests deliberate movement. Ships moving in formation. Krex ships, Commander Zix said firmly. They are probably testing our borders, seeing if we will react. But we will not restart this war over shadows on a sensor screen. Dr. Kess left the commander's office feeling frustrated. She knew what she had seen, even if no one believed her. On the other side of the galaxy, Lieutenant Grex of the Krex Coalition was having the same problem. The young Krex officer had been monitoring space near the neutral zone when his sensors detected unusual activity. Grex was different from most Krex. While his people were known for being fierce warriors, he was thoughtful and careful. He liked to study problems before acting. This made him unpopular with his more aggressive colleagues. Captain, Grex said to his commanding officer, I am detecting strange ships at the edge of our territory. Captain Vrock barely looked up from his weapons maintenance. Zephyrian ships? No, sir. The energy signatures are completely different. Unknown design. Captain Vrock snorted. The Zephyrians are probably testing new stealth technology. They want to make us nervous. But, Captain, these ships appear and disappear without warning. Their speed is impossible according to our understanding of physics. Lieutenant, Captain Vrock said with irritation, the war is over. We are not going to start shooting at shadows. File your report and forget about it. Grex returned to his station, but he could not forget what he had seen. Like Dr. Kess, he continued to monitor the strange readings and collect data that no one wanted to hear about. Neither alien knew they were both watching the same thing. Captain Jake Morris and his reconnaissance ship New Horizon had been joined by a second human vessel, the stealth frigate Liberty Bell, under Commander Lisa Hayes. Lisa Hayes was a tall woman with red hair and green eyes. She had commanded stealth missions for the human fleet for 15 years. She was known for her ability to gather intelligence without being detected. The two human ships had established a hidden base inside a large asteroid in the neutral zone. Using advanced mining equipment, they had hollowed out a space big enough for both ships and a small research station. Jake, Lisa said as she reviewed the day's intelligence reports. Both sides have detected us multiple times, but their commanders keep dismissing the reports. Jake nodded as he studied star charts on his screen. That works to our advantage. We can continue gathering information without worrying about discovery. The human base was a marvel of technology. Hidden sensors extended throughout the asteroid field, creating an invisible network that monitored all traffic in the area. Advanced computers analyzed alien communications, breaking codes and translating languages. What have you learned about their military capabilities? Lisa asked. Jake pulled up a detailed analysis. Both species are technologically advanced, but their thinking is limited. They fight wars the same way they did 300 years ago. Line up ships. Shoot until someone dies. Any innovation at all? Very little. They have powerful weapons and strong shields, but no creativity in how they use them. Their ships are built like fortresses, meant to absorb damage, not avoid it. Lisa studied the alien ship designs on Jake's screen. Slow and predictable. Exactly. They also have major weaknesses in their logistics. Both sides struggle to supply their fleets over long distances. Their communication systems are easy to intercept and decode. The two humans had been working together for months, creating the most detailed intelligence report on alien capabilities in human history. Every ship design, every weapon system, every tactical doctrine was recorded and analyzed. There is something else, Jake said. Both species are still recovering from the war. Their military strength is at an all-time low. If humanity is going to act, now would be the best time. Lisa nodded. How long before they rebuild? 10 years minimum for the Zephyrians. Maybe 15 for the Kreks. They lost a lot of experienced officers and technicians. On Earth, the reports from Jake and Lisa were being studied by the highest levels of human government and military leadership. In a secure briefing room deep under the Pentagon, Admiral Paul Davis read the latest intelligence summary. Paul Davis was a man who had spent his entire career preparing for humanity's expansion into space. He was tall and serious, with gray hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. He had fought in the border wars with alien raiders 10 years earlier and understood better than most what humanity would face among the stars. The opportunity is clear, Admiral Davis said to his staff. Two major powers have exhausted themselves fighting each other. Their military strength is broken. Their attention is focused on rebuilding, not on external threats. Colonel Sam Brooks, the Admiral's chief of staff, looked up from his own copy of the report. What are you recommending, sir? We accelerate our timeline. The fleet construction program gets top priority. We move from observation to action. Back in the asteroid base, Jake and Lisa continued their silent watch. Neither alien species suspected that their galaxy was being carefully studied by a potential enemy. The Zephyrians and Kreks thought their biggest worry was each other. Dr. Kess continued to detect strange energy readings, but Commander Zix continued to ignore her reports. Lieutenant Grex kept seeing impossible ships, but Captain Vrock kept dismissing them as Zephyrian tricks. The galaxy was at peace, but it was a peace built on exhaustion and ignorance. Neither side knew that humanity was watching, learning, and preparing. In the darkness between the stars, more human ships were already moving toward alien space. Admiral Paul Davis stood in the war room deep beneath the Pentagon, studying the massive holographic display that showed the known galaxy. Red markers indicated Zephyrian territory, blue showed Krek space, and green dots marked human observation. Posts. The room was filled with the most important military and political leaders on Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Davis said, we have a decision to make that will determine humanity's future among the stars. President Helen Carter sat at the head of the conference table. She was a strong leader who had guided humanity through its first contact with alien technology and the subsequent military buildup. Her gray hair and tired eyes showed the weight of leadership during these historic times. Admiral, President Carter said, give us your assessment of the current situation. Admiral Davis activated the holographic display, showing detailed ship movements and tactical positions throughout alien space. Captain Morris and Commander Hayes have provided us with the most complete intelligence picture we could hope for. Both alien civilizations are militarily weak and focused on internal reconstruction. General Sam Brooks leaned forward in his chair. Sam was a big man with a scarred face from the border wars. He had little patience for diplomacy when military action was an option. The window of opportunity is clear, General Brooks said. We strike now while they are weak, or we wait 10 years and face them at full strength. Secretary of Defense Amy. Ross shook her head. Amy was a former diplomat who believed in trying peaceful solutions before resorting to war. General, you are talking about attacking civilizations that have done nothing to threaten Earth. Yet, General Brooks replied, they have done nothing to threaten us yet. But our intelligence shows both species view any third party as a potential enemy to be eliminated. Director Tom Walsh of Human Intelligence opened a classified file on his tablet. Tom was a thin, quiet man who knew more secrets than anyone else in the room. His job was to understand threats before they became dangerous. The general is correct, Director Walsh said. We have intercepted communications from both alien governments. Their historical records show they have encountered 17 other intelligent species over the past 1,000 years. All 17 were either conquered or destroyed. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. President Carter looked around the table at her advisors. What are our options? Admiral Davis changed the holographic display to show human fleet positions. We have 3 choices. First, we can continue hiding and hope they never find us. Second, we can attempt diplomatic contact and risk being seen as a threat. Third, we can reveal ourselves from a position of strength. Explain the third option, President Carter said. We have been building our fleet based on detailed analysis of alien technology and tactics. Our ships are designed specifically to counter their weapons and exploit their weaknesses. We have advantages they do not expect. Admiral Davis highlighted human ship designs on the display. The vessels were sleek and fast, built for speed and precision, rather than the heavy armor approach favored by the aliens. Our engines are 30% faster than anything they have. Our weapons can penetrate their shields using frequency modulation they have never encountered. Our sensors can track their stealth ships, but their sensors cannot detect ours. General. Brooks stood up and walked to the display. We have 200 ships ready for deployment. Each one is worth 5 of theirs in combat effectiveness. Secretary Ross still looked concerned. You are talking about threatening 2 civilizations with billions of people. What if they call our bluff? Director Walsh answered her question. It would not be a bluff. Our analysis shows that either alien civilization could be defeated by our current fleet. Both together would be more challenging, but still manageable. President Carter was quiet for several minutes, considering the options. Finally, she looked up at Admiral Davis. If we choose the third option, how would we reveal ourselves? Simultaneous arrival at key strategic points in both alien territories. We demonstrate our capability to appear anywhere we choose. Then, we dictate terms from a position of strength. And if they refuse our terms? Admiral Davis met her gaze steadily. Then we enforce them. The discussion continued for hours. Military experts explained tactical advantages. Intelligence officers detailed alien weaknesses. Political advisors worried about the long-term consequences of aggressive first contact. Dr. Kate Wilson, the President's chief science advisor, raised an important point. Kate was a brilliant woman who had led the team that reverse-engineered captured alien technology. We must consider the technological advantages we could gain, Dr. Wilson said. Both alien civilizations have technologies we have not yet developed. Their manufacturing techniques, their energy systems, their material science, peaceful cooperation could benefit all sides. Director Walsh shook his head. Doctor, our intelligence clearly shows these species do not engage in peaceful cooperation with other races. They conquer or destroy. There is no middle ground in their thinking. Then we change their thinking, Dr. Wilson replied. "We show them a better way." General Brooks laughed harshly. "You cannot change the thinking of species that have been warlike for thousands of years. The only thing they understand is strength." President Carter raised her hand for silence. "Admiral Davis, what is your recommendation?" Admiral Davis stood at attention. "Madam President, I recommend immediate military action. We reveal our presence with a show of force that leaves no doubt about our capabilities. We establish human zones of control in strategic locations and impose our terms on both alien governments. And if they unite against us? Our intelligence suggests they would try, but their cooperation would be temporary and ineffective. They hate each other more than they would fear us, at least initially." Secretary Ross made one last attempt at diplomacy. "What if we try talking to them first? Send a small delegation to meet with their leaders." Director Walsh pulled up another classified file. "We war-game that scenario extensively. In every simulation, the diplomatic mission ends with our delegates being imprisoned or killed, followed by both alien governments combining forces to hunt down Earth." The weight of decision fell on President Carter's shoulders. She thought about the millions of humans living on colony worlds beyond Earth. She thought about the alien species that had been destroyed for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. She thought about humanity's future among the stars. "Very well, President," Carter said finally. "Admiral Davis, you are authorized to proceed with Operation Reveal. Show these aliens what humanity is capable of." Admiral Davis saluted. "Yes, Madam President. I will not disappoint you." As the meeting ended and the leaders filed out of the room, Admiral Davis remained behind to study the holographic display. In a few days, he would command the largest human fleet ever assembled. The aliens thought their war was over, and they could rebuild in peace. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Admiral Davis activated his secure communication system and sent orders to fleet commanders throughout human space. The message was simple. "Operation Reveal is authorized. All ships report to staging areas immediately." Across human territory, 200 of the most advanced warships ever built began moving toward alien space. The crews knew they were making history, but they did not yet know they were about to reshape the galaxy itself. The era of human dominance was about to begin. The space around the Zephyrian capital world of Prima was quiet in the early morning hours. 3 moons hung in the dark sky, and the orbital defense platforms drifted in their lazy patrols. The Great War was over, and the galaxy was at peace. Then, reality tore open. 70 human ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, appearing as if they had materialized from nothing. The Zephyrian sensors screamed warnings as the unknown vessels took positions around their homeworld in a complex pattern that showed precise planning and overwhelming confidence. Admiral Veltar was awakened in his quarters by emergency alarms. He stumbled to his command center, still wearing his sleeping clothes, to find his staff in complete chaos. "Report!" Veltar shouted over the noise. "Unknown fleet, sir," his sensor officer replied, his voice shaking. 70 ships of unknown design. They appeared simultaneously around the planet. Veltar looked at the tactical display and felt his blood turn cold. The alien ships were positioned perfectly to attack any target on the planet or in orbit. More importantly, they had appeared without any warning from the early detection grid. How did they get past our sensors? They did not get past them, sir. They just appeared. One moment space was empty. The next moment they were there. At the same instant, The same scene was playing out around the Krex homeworld of Braktor. 70 more human ships had materialized in their space with the same terrifying precision. Supreme Commander Thok was in his war room when the alarms began. Unlike Veltar, Thok was always ready for battle. He had been expecting the Zephyrians to break the peace treaty eventually. "Battle stations!" Thok roared. "All ships to defensive positions!" "Sir," his tactical officer said nervously, "these are not Zephyrian ships. The design is completely unknown." Thok studied the display showing the alien fleet. The ships were sleek and angular. Unlike the heavy fortress-like vessels used by either the Zephyrians or the Krex. They moved with a fluid grace that suggested advanced technology. "Have they made any demands?" Thok asked. "No, sir. They are just waiting." In the neutral zone, at the former battlefield of Nexus Prime, the final 60 ships of the human fleet appeared around the abandoned space station. This group was led by Admiral Paul Davis aboard his flagship, the Constitution. Admiral Davis was a calm man, but he felt his heart racing as he looked at the tactical displays showing all 3 fleet positions. Everything had gone exactly according to plan. The aliens had been caught completely off guard. "Communications," Admiral Davis said to his bridge crew. "Open channels to both alien homeworlds and broadcast on all frequencies." "Channels open, sir." Admiral Davis stood up and straightened his uniform. What he said in the next few minutes would determine whether humanity's emergence would be peaceful or violent. "This is Admiral Paul Davis of the Terran Federation," he began, his voice carrying across space to reach both alien civilizations simultaneously. "We represent humanity, a species you have not yet encountered. We have observed your conflict and your recent peace. We come to establish our place in this galaxy." The reaction on both alien homeworlds was immediate and intense. Admiral Veltar stared at the communication screen in shock. "Humanity? We have never heard of this species." "Sir," his intelligence officer said, "our files contain no reference to humans or a Terran Federation." "How is that possible? How could an entire civilization develop without us knowing?" On the Krex homeworld, Supreme Commander Thok was asking the same questions. His advisors scrambled through their databases but found nothing about humans. "Unknown species developing advanced space travel without our knowledge is impossible," Thok declared. "Our scouts monitor all systems for hundreds of light years." "Perhaps they come from outside our region of the galaxy," suggested his science advisor. Admiral Davis continued his broadcast. "We have been observing your species for some time. We understand your capabilities, your strengths, and your limitations. We come not as conquerors, but as the new dominant power in this galaxy." The words sent shockwaves through both alien governments. For thousands of years, the Zephyrians and Krex had been the dominant powers in their region of space. The idea that another species could claim supremacy was almost incomprehensible. "How dare they?" Supreme Commander Thok roared. "No species dictates terms to the Krex coalition." Admiral Veltar was more cautious. "Their ships appeared without warning around our most heavily defended world. That suggests technology far beyond what we expected." Both alien leaders demanded immediate military response, but their admirals were hesitant. The human fleet had demonstrated an ability to appear anywhere without detection. This suggested capabilities that made traditional military response extremely dangerous. Admiral Davis waited exactly 10 minutes for the aliens to process his message, then continued his broadcast. "We understand this is unexpected. You have questions about our intentions and our capabilities. We are prepared to demonstrate both. At Nexus Prime, Admiral Davis gave his fleet commanders their orders. Begin demonstration protocol. I want both alien governments to understand exactly what they are dealing with. The abandoned defense station at Nexus Prime had been built during the war as an impregnable fortress. Both alien species had declared it impossible to destroy using conventional weapons. The station's shields and armor had withstood the combined firepower of entire fleets. Admiral Davis targeted the station with just 12 human ships. All vessels, begin coordinated fire pattern 7, he ordered. The human ships opened fire simultaneously. Their weapons were unlike anything the aliens had seen. Instead of the massive energy beams favored by both the Zephyrians and Krex, the humans used precise plasma torpedoes that struck in complex patterns. The station's shields flared and died within 90 seconds. The armor that had withstood years of bombardment was penetrated in minutes. 12 minutes after the attack began, Nexus Prime Station was reduced to debris. The display of firepower was broadcast live to both alien homeworlds. The message was clear: the humans could destroy anything the aliens had built, and they could do it easily. Admiral Veltar watched the destruction in horror. That station withstood our most powerful weapons for months during the siege. They destroyed it in minutes. His military advisors were studying the human attack patterns with growing alarm. Their weapons use frequency modulation to penetrate shields. Our defenses are not designed to handle that type of attack. On the Krex homeworld, Supreme Commander Thok was equally shaken. How many ships did they use? 12, sir. Only 12 ships. 12 ships destroyed what our entire fleet could not. The human demonstration had achieved its purpose. Both alien civilizations now understood they were facing a military force unlike anything they had encountered before. Admiral Davis made his final broadcast of the day. We will be in contact again soon to discuss the future of this galaxy. We suggest you use this time to consider your options carefully. With that, the human fleet simply vanished. One moment they were there, the next they were gone, leaving no trace except the debris of Nexus Prime and the knowledge that the galaxy had changed forever. In emergency sessions on both homeworlds, alien leaders struggled to understand what had just happened. They had thought themselves the masters of space, but a new power had emerged that made them look like children playing with toys. The age of Zephyrian and Krex dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun. 3 days after the humans revealed themselves, both alien governments demanded that the strange new species withdraw from their territories immediately. The Zephyrians sent formal diplomatic protests, while the Krex issued direct military threats. Both expected the humans to negotiate or retreat. Admiral Paul Davis had anticipated this response. Sitting in his command chair aboard the Constitution, he reviewed the intelligence reports from both alien governments. The aliens still did not understand what they were dealing with. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "we are receiving demands from both alien civilizations to leave their space immediately." "Understood," Admiral Davis replied calmly. "Signal all fleet commanders. We proceed to demonstration phase 2. The human admiral had studied the psychology of both alien species carefully. The Zephyrians responded to logical demonstrations of superior capability. The Krex only understood overwhelming displays of force. He would give both species exactly what they needed to see. In the Kepler system at the edge of Zephyrian space, Admiral Veltar had assembled 20 heavy cruisers to intercept the human ships. These were some of the most powerful vessels in the Zephyrian fleet. each one capable of destroying a small moon. "We will show these humans that Zephyrian space is not open to invasion," Admiral Veltar declared to his fleet commanders. The Zephyrian ships moved in battle formation toward the last known position of the human vessels. Their massive engines pushed them forward at maximum speed, their shields at full power, their weapons charged and ready. They found the humans waiting for them. Commander Lisa Hayes led a squadron of 20 human frigates against the approaching Zephyrian fleet. Her ships were smaller than the alien vessels, but moved with an agility that made them seem alive in space. "All ships," Lisa broadcast to her squadron, "execute Pattern Delta. Show them what human engineering can do." The human ships accelerated to attack speed in seconds, reaching velocities that should have been impossible for vessels of their size. The Zephyrian heavy cruisers tried to target them, but their massive weapons could not track the darting human ships. Lisa's flagship, the Liberty Bell, led the attack on Admiral Veltar's command ship. The human plasma torpedoes struck the Zephyrian shields with precisely calculated frequency pulses that caused them to collapse completely. "Impossible!" Admiral Veltar shouted as his shields failed. "Our shields are rated against any known weapon!" The human torpedoes punched through the heavy cruiser's armor like it was made of paper. But instead of destroying the ship, they struck precisely at engine and weapon systems, leaving the crew alive but helpless. Within 20 minutes, all 20 Zephyrian heavy cruisers were disabled and drifting. Not a single human ship had been damaged. The Zephyrian weapons had fired thousands of shots but could not hit the impossibly fast human vessels. "This is Commander Hayes of the human fleet," Lisa broadcast to the disabled Zephyrian ships. "Your vessels will be returned to you, undamaged as a gesture of good faith. Consider this a demonstration of human capabilities." Admiral Veltar sat in his darkened command center, surrounded by sparking equipment and emergency lighting. His flagship, one of the most powerful ships ever built by his people, had been defeated in minutes by a vessel half its size. On the other side of the galaxy, the Kreks were learning their own harsh lesson. Supreme Commander Thok had sent 3 full battle groups to hunt down the human ships that had appeared in Krek space. These were veteran crews, warriors who had fought in the Great War for decades. They knew every combat trick, every tactical maneuver. Captain Jake Morris led the human response with a task force of 30 ships. His mission was to demonstrate that human technology made traditional alien tactics obsolete. "All ships," Jake commanded, "activate stealth systems and begin hit-and-run attacks. Show them they cannot fight what they cannot catch." The human ships seemed to vanish from Krek's sensors, reappearing only long enough to fire precise strikes before disappearing again. The Krek's battle groups found themselves shooting at shadows while human weapons struck them from impossible angles. "Where are they?" demanded General Locke, commander of the 1st Krek's battle group. "Our sensors show nothing." "Sir," his sensor operator replied desperately, "they are using some kind of stealth technology we have never encountered. Our instruments cannot maintain a lock." The human ships appeared and disappeared at will, each attack disabling Krek's vessels without destroying them. The proud Krek's warriors, feared throughout the galaxy for their fighting skill, found themselves helpless against an enemy they could not see. When the battle ended, 60 Krek's warships drifted in space, their weapons and engines destroyed but their crews alive. The human task force had accomplished this while remaining essentially invisible throughout the engagement. "This is Captain Morris of the human fleet," Jake broadcast to the defeated Krek ships. "Your warriors fought bravely, but courage cannot overcome superior technology. Learn from this experience. Supreme Commander Thok received the reports from his defeated fleets with growing rage and fear. The humans had made his most experienced warriors look like untrained children. Back at Human Fleet Headquarters, Admiral Davis studied the results of both engagements with satisfaction. The demonstrations had achieved their goals perfectly. Casualties? He asked his staff. 0 human losses, reported Colonel Sam Brooks. Minor damage to 3 ships, all easily repaired. Alien casualties? Also minimal. Both engagement commanders followed orders precisely. Disable, do not destroy. Admiral Davis nodded approvingly. The demonstrations were meant to show human superiority, not to start a war of extinction. Both alien species needed to understand that humans could destroy them easily but chose not to. Sir, his intelligence officer said, we are monitoring communications from both alien governments. They are calling emergency sessions to discuss the situation. Good. Fear and confusion will make them more receptive to negotiation. Dr. Kess, the Zephyrian scientist who had first detected human ships, watched the recordings of the battle with amazement and terror. The human vessels moved like nothing she had ever seen. Their weapons were incredibly precise, and their tactics were completely unpredictable. How is this possible? She whispered to herself. Commander Zix, who had dismissed her earlier warnings about strange sensor readings, now looked at her with new respect. Doctor, you were right about the unknown energy signatures. What else did your sensors detect? Doctor. Kess pulled up her old data files. The patterns suggested ships with engine efficiency far beyond our technology. I also detected what appeared to be instantaneous communication systems. Instantaneous communication? Yes, sir. Their ships appear to coordinate perfectly across vast distances without any signal delay. On the Krex homeworld, Lieutenant Grex was having similar conversations with his superiors. The young officer who had been ignored for months was suddenly the center of attention. You said their ships appeared and disappeared without warning, Captain Vrock said. Describe exactly what you observed. They seemed to phase in and out of normal space, Grex replied. One moment our sensors showed empty space, the next moment a ship was there. Then it would vanish again. Some kind of cloaking device? More than that, sir. I believe they can actually shift between dimensions, making themselves impossible to detect until they choose to attack. Both alien civilizations were beginning to understand that they faced technology so advanced, it seemed like magic. The humans had capabilities that made their own weapons and defenses obsolete. Admiral Davis prepared for the next phase of his plan. The demonstrations had shown alien leaders what human military forces could do. Now it was time to show them what those forces would do if challenged. Signal all fleet commanders, Admiral Davis ordered. Prepare for Phase 3. It is time for formal negotiations. The aliens thought they had seen the full extent of human capabilities. They were about to learn that the demonstrations had only shown them a tiny fraction of what humanity could bring to bear against them. The galaxy was about to witness the true meaning of human military supremacy. Admiral Paul Davis stood on the bridge of his flagship as it approached Nexus Prime Station. Where once the mighty fortress had guarded the neutral zone, now only debris floated in space. But the humans had built something new in its place. In just 5 days, human engineering teams had constructed a massive space station from the wreckage. The new facility was larger than the original and bristled with advanced weapons and defensive systems. It served as a clear message. Humans could build as easily as they could destroy. All construction teams report station operational, his chief engineer reported. Excellent, Admiral Davis replied. Signal both alien governments. Tell them we, are ready for negotiations. The message sent to both the Zephyrian Empire and Krex Coalition was simple. Admiral Davis of the Terran Federation requests a diplomatic meeting aboard Nexus Prime Station. Both governments are invited to send their highest representatives. Come in peace or do not come at all. Admiral Veltar received the human message while meeting with his government council on the Zephyrian homeworld. The aging military leader looked around the table at faces filled with worry and confusion. They built a station from the debris of our fortress, reported Science Minister Dr. Kess, who had been promoted after her accurate warnings about human ships. Our engineers estimate it should have taken months. They completed it in 5 days. How? Asked Defense Minister Yex. Unknown construction techniques using equipment we have never seen before, Dr. Kess replied. They appear to have matter, conversion technology that can transform raw materials into finished components instantly. Admiral Veltar studied the images of the new station. It was clearly of human design, sleek and efficient compared to the massive fortress-style architecture favored by his people. What choice do we have? He asked the council. We cannot fight them. Our best ships were disabled in minutes. We could refuse to negotiate, suggested War Minister Tez. Show them that Zephyrians do not bow to threats. Admiral Veltar looked at his old friend with sad eyes. And then what? They destroy our homeworld as easily as they destroyed Nexus Prime? On the Krex homeworld, Supreme Commander Thok was having a similar discussion with his war council. The proud Krex leaders struggled with the idea of negotiating from a position of weakness. "We are Krex," roared General Thok. "We do not surrender to anyone." "This is not surrender," Thok replied carefully. "This is tactical wisdom. The enemy is stronger than us. We must learn their intentions before we decide how to respond." "You sound like a coward," General Vac accused. Thok's hand moved to his weapon, but he controlled his anger. "I sound like a leader who wants his people to survive. Would you prefer to fight a glorious battle that ends with our species extinct?" 3 days later, the diplomatic shuttle from the Zephyrian Empire arrived at Nexus Prime Station. Admiral Veltar himself led the delegation, bringing with him Dr. Kess and their most experienced diplomats. The human station was unlike anything they had seen. The corridors were spacious and well lit, the technology was seamlessly integrated into the structure, and there were no visible weapons or guards. Yet the Zephyrians could feel the power humming through the walls. Admiral Davis met them at the docking bay, dressed in a simple military uniform without the elaborate decorations favored by alien leaders. He was tall and calm, with steady eyes that seemed to see everything. "Admiral Veltar," Davis said with a respectful nod. "Welcome aboard. I appreciate your courage in coming here." "We come seeking understanding," Veltar replied carefully. "Your species appeared without warning and demonstrated capabilities we did not know were possible. All will be explained during our meeting." An hour later, the Krex delegation arrived. Supreme Commander Thok had brought General Vak and Lieutenant Grex, the young officer who had first detected human ships. Thok wanted a warrior and a scout to witness whatever the humans had planned. The meeting took place in a conference room with a massive transparent wall that showed the stars beyond. Admiral Davis sat at one end of a long table, with the alien delegations facing each other from opposite sides. Dr. Kate Wilson, the human science advisor, activated a holographic display that filled the center of the room. The display showed Detailed information about both alien civilizations, ship designs, military capabilities, population centers, resource production, everything. Before we begin, Admiral Davis said, I want you to understand the scope of human knowledge about your civilizations. The display showed Zephyrian cities, military bases, industrial facilities, all marked with precise details about their capabilities and defenses. The aliens watched in growing alarm as their most secret information was revealed casually. How do you know this? Admiral Veltar demanded. We have been observing your war for months, Admiral Davis replied. Our scouts have mapped every system, analyzed every ship design, monitored every communication. The display shifted to show Krek's territory with the same level of detail. Strategic resources, fleet positions, weapon stockpiles, all laid out for everyone to see. Supreme Commander Thok leaned forward aggressively. You have been spying on us. We have been learning about potential neighbors, Admiral Davis corrected. The galaxy is large enough for all of us, but only if we establish clear boundaries and mutual understanding. General Sam Brooks stepped forward and activated another section of the display. This one showed human military capabilities, ship designs, weapon systems, fleet positions, and technological advantages. This is what humanity brings to this galaxy, General Brooks said. Speed, precision, and overwhelming technological superiority. The key aliens studied the human ship specifications with growing horror. Every human vessel was faster, better armed, and more advanced than anything either civilization had built. Our fleets could destroy both of your civilizations simultaneously, General Brooks continued. But we prefer cooperation to conquest. Dr. Kate Wilson activated the final section of the display, showing a proposed division of the galaxy. Human territory was marked in green, covering the resource-rich core systems and major hyperspace routes. This is our proposal, Dr. Wilson said. Humanity will establish control over these strategic systems. The Zephyrian Empire and Krek's coalition may continue governing their current territories under human oversight. Oversight? Admiral Veltar asked. Both civilizations will pay tribute to the Terran Federation, Admiral Davis explained. Raw materials, technology transfers, and military cooperation. In exchange, we guarantee your continued existence and protection from external threats. Supreme Commander Thok stood up angrily. You want us to become your slaves. We want you to become our junior partners, Admiral Davis replied calmly. The alternative is extinction. General Brooks activated images of the recent battles. Your fleets were defeated without a single human casualty. Your best weapons could not even damage our ships. This is not a negotiation between equals. Lieutenant Grex, who had been silent until now, spoke up. What happens if we refuse? Admiral Davis looked at the young Krex officer with respect. It was a good question that needed a clear answer. If either civilization refuses these terms, we will demonstrate the full capabilities of the human fleet, Admiral Davis said. We will systematically destroy your military forces, occupy your worlds, and impose our will by force. And if we both refuse and unite against you, Admiral Veltar asked, then you will both be destroyed together instead of separately. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The aliens were being given a choice between submission and annihilation. How long do we have to decide? Supreme Commander Thok asked. 48 hours, Admiral Davis replied. After that, we will assume you have chosen conflict over cooperation. Dr. Kess leaned forward nervously. What guarantee do we have that you will honor your agreement? The same guarantee you have that the sun will rise tomorrow, Admiral Davis answered. We could destroy you now if that was our intention. We offer partnership because it serves our interests, not because we need your permission. The meeting ended with both alien delegations returning to their ships in stunned silence. They had come hoping to negotiate as equals, and discovered they were being offered terms of surrender disguised as diplomacy. Admiral Davis watched their shuttles depart and turned to his staff. How do you think they will respond? The Zephyrians will probably accept, General Brooks said. They are practical people who understand superior force. The Kreks are more likely to fight, Dr. Wilson added. Their warrior culture makes submission difficult. Then we prepare for both possibilities, Admiral Davis decided. Ready the fleet for immediate action. In 48 hours, we will either have new allies or new enemies. The countdown to humanity's galactic dominance had begun. In a secret location deep in the asteroid fields between Zephyrian and Krek space, two ancient enemies met in desperate alliance. Admiral Veltar's flagship docked with Supreme Commander Thok's battlecruiser under the cover of complete communication. Silence. The meeting took place in neutral space, because neither leader could risk being seen cooperating with their longtime enemy. For 300 years, their species had fought each other with hatred that ran deeper than the stars. Now they faced a threat that made their old war seem like a children's game. I never thought I would stand in the same room as a Krek's leader, Admiral Veltar said as he entered Thok's war room. Nor I with a Zephyrian, Thok replied grimly, but these humans threaten us both. The two leaders studied each other carefully. Veltar was tall and thin, with the pale blue skin and large eyes typical of his species. Thok was shorter but massively built, with the gray hide and sharp teeth that made the Kreks feared throughout the galaxy. They gave us 48 hours, Veltar said. Half that time has already passed. Then we must decide quickly, Thok agreed. Submission or resistance? General Vak, who had accompanied Thok to the meeting, slammed his fist on the table. The Kreks do not submit to anyone. We fight until victory or death. Dr. Kess, representing the Zephyrian delegation, shook her head. General, you saw the same tactical displays we did. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Technology means nothing without the will to use it, General Vak replied. These humans appeared from nowhere. They may be powerful, but they are few. Thok considered this point. How many ships do you estimate they have? Our intelligence suggests no more than 300 vessels total, Admiral Veltar replied. We saw 200 during their demonstrations, but there may be more. Against our combined fleets, we can field over 800 ships, Thok calculated. Numbers may overcome their technological advantage. Lieutenant Grex, who had been monitoring communication intercepts, looked up from his portable console. Sir, I have been analyzing their ship movements and communication patterns. I believe they have additional capabilities they have not yet revealed. Explain, Thok ordered. Their ships appear and disappear without using traditional hyperspace. Technology. They may be able to reinforce their fleet instantly from anywhere in the galaxy. General Vak dismissed this concern. Speculation. We must base our strategy on what we know, not what we fear. Admiral Veltar activated a holographic display showing the positions of all known human ships. If we coordinate our attack perfectly, we can strike all 3 human fleet positions simultaneously. Even if they can reinforce quickly, we may be able to destroy their initial force. The plan that emerged from their desperate meeting was simple but ambitious. The combined Zephyrian and Krek's fleets would divide into 3 attack groups. Each group would target one of the human fleet positions, using overwhelming numbers to achieve quick victories before the humans could respond. The key is simultaneous attack, Thok explained. If we strike all three positions at exactly the same moment, they cannot reinforce each other. Our best estimate puts their total strength at 300 ships, Veltar added. Against our 800, we have reasonable odds of success. What neither alien leader knew was that Director Tom Walsh's intelligence network had been monitoring their secret communications for days. Hidden sensors throughout the asteroid field recorded every word of their planning session. On Earth, Admiral Paul Davis received the intelligence reports with satisfaction rather than alarm. The aliens were reacting exactly as human strategists had predicted. They are planning a coordinated attack against all three fleet positions, Director Walsh reported. 800 ships total, divided into 3 strike forces. Perfect, Admiral Davis replied. This gives us the opportunity to demonstrate our full capabilities. General Sam Brooks looked up from the tactical projections. Are you sure we should allow them to attack? We could strike their fleets while they are still assembling. No, Admiral Davis said firmly. Let them come. They need to understand the true extent of human military power. A preemptive strike would leave them wondering if they might have succeeded. Dr. Kate Wilson activated a strategic display showing the positions of human fleets throughout the galaxy. We have 500 additional ships in reserve, positioned in hyperspace, ready for immediate deployment. The aliens have seen less than half of our total strength, Admiral Davis explained. This attack will give us the excuse to reveal our true fleet size. Meanwhile, the secret alliance between the Zephyrians and Kreks was proceeding with desperate urgency. Both species stripped their home defenses to assemble the largest combined fleet in galactic history. Admiral Veltar commanded the force targeting the human ships near Zephyrian space. 250 vessels, including their most powerful battleships and experienced crews. Supreme Commander Thok led the attack on the human positions near Kreks territory. 300 ships, representing the finest warriors in the coalition. General Vac took command of the final strike force, targeting the human station at Nexus Prime. 250 ships carrying the most advanced weapons both civilizations could provide. Remember, Thok broadcast to all fleet commanders, we strike simultaneously. Coordinate your attacks to begin at exactly the same moment. Do not give the humans time to respond. The combined alien armada was the largest military force assembled in over 1,000 years. Veterans of the Great War flew alongside young warriors who had never seen battle. Zephyrian ships moved in formation with Kreks vessels, their crews working together for the first time in history. Dr. Kess monitored the fleet communications from Admiral Veltar's flagship. Despite her scientific training, she felt hopeful as she watched the massive formation. Surely no force, regardless of technology, could stand against so many ships. Lieutenant Grex served as tactical coordinator aboard Thok's command ship. His job was to ensure that all 3 attack groups struck their targets at precisely the same instant. The success of their plan depended on perfect timing. All groups report ready, Grex announced as the fleets reached their attack positions. Begin final countdown, Thok ordered. Attack commences in 60 seconds. Unknown to the aliens, their entire battle plan had been transmitted to Admiral Davis minutes after it was finalized. Human fleet commanders were already in position, ready to spring the most devastating trap in galactic history. Sir, Admiral Davis's communication officer reported, alien fleets are beginning their final approach. Signal all reserve fleets, Admiral Davis ordered. Execute Operation Overwhelming Response. Across the galaxy, 500 human ships that had been hidden in hyperspace began moving toward the battle zones. The aliens thought they were attacking isolated human forces. Instead, they were about to face the full might of the Terran Federation Navy. "All ships," Admiral Davis broadcast to the human fleet, "engage the enemy. Show them what happens when they threaten humanity." The Battle of Broken Chains was about to begin, and with it the final demonstration of human supremacy in the galaxy. "The aliens are adapting to their new situation better than expected," Jake reported during his final briefing on Earth. "The Zephyrians see cooperation as logical survival. The Kreks respect strength, even when it defeats them." Admiral Davis nodded approvingly. "What about resistance movements?" "Minor and ineffective. Both alien populations understand that human rule offers stability and protection. Their own governments failed them for centuries. We are actually providing better lives for most of their people." The transformation of the galaxy proceeded with typical human efficiency. Human administrators took control of alien governments, human engineers improved alien technology, and human colonists established settlements on the most valuable worlds. Admiral Veltar, now serving as a junior administrator in the human colonial government, found himself oddly grateful for the change. The endless war between his people and the Kreks was over forever. For the first time in centuries, Zephyrian children could grow up without fear of attack. Supreme Commander Thok had been assigned to lead a mixed human-alien security force responsible for maintaining order in the former Kreks territories. It was not the combined alien fleet struck with the fury of two civilizations fighting for their very existence. 800 ships representing the finest military technology of both the Zephyrian Empire and Kreks Coalition attacked the human positions, simultaneously across 3 star systems. For exactly 17 minutes, it appeared the aliens might succeed. Admiral Veltar watched with growing hope as his 250 ships overwhelmed the 70 human vessels near Zephyrian space. The human ships fought with their usual precision and speed, but they seemed outnumbered beyond even their capabilities. "We are winning!" his tactical officer reported. "Human ships are taking damage!" Supreme Commander Thok observed similar progress in his battle zone. His 300 ships had engaged 70 human vessels, and for the first time, Kreks weapons were finding their targets. Several human ships showed damage, and one appeared to be retreating. "Press the attack!" Thok roared. "Show these invaders what Kreks warriors can do." At Nexus Prime, General Vac led his force against the human station and its 60 defending ships. The massive alien fleet pounded the human defenses with everything they had, and the station's shields began to flicker under the assault. "Their defenses are failing," General Vac announced triumphantly. "Prepare boarding parties." Then reality struck back. The space around all 3 battle zones suddenly filled with human ships. Not dozens, but hundreds. 500 additional vessels dropped out of hyperspace in perfect coordination, surrounding the alien fleets from every direction. Admiral Veltar stared at his tactical display in horror as 200 human ships materialized around his force. "Impossible," he whispered. "Where did they come from?" The ships that had seemed damaged moments before suddenly accelerated to full combat speed, their apparent wounds revealed as tactical deception. The retreat had been fake, designed to draw the aliens into a trap. Supreme Commander Thok found his fleet completely surrounded by human vessels that seemed to appear from thin air. 350 human ships now faced his 300. Kreks warriors and more were arriving every second. "All ships, defensive formation," Thok commanded. but his voice carried the tone of a leader who knew he had been outmaneuvered completely. At Nexus Prime, General Vac watched in growing panic as 400 human ships emerged from hyperspace around his force. The station he had thought nearly defeated was revealed as bait in the most sophisticated military trap ever constructed. Admiral Paul Davis, commanding the battle from his flagship Constitution, observed all three engagements simultaneously through advanced communication systems that allowed him to coordinate the entire operation in real time. All fleet commanders, Davis broadcast, commence Operation Broken Chains. Show them the true power of human military technology. What followed was not a battle but a demonstration of technological supremacy so complete that it redefined what galactic warfare meant. Human ships unleashed weapons that the aliens had never imagined. Gravity manipulators crushed Krek's battleships like empty cans. Phase shift cannons allowed human weapons to fire through solid matter, striking vital systems inside heavily armored alien vessels. Admiral Veltar watched his flagship's sister ship simply implode as human gravity weapons compressed, its hull beyond the breaking point. The destruction was so sudden and complete that there was no time for distress signals or escape pods. "Surrender," his communication officer pleaded. "Sir, we must surrender before they destroy us all." But the humans were not trying to destroy the alien fleets. Their weapons struck with surgical precision, disabling engines and weapons while leaving life support intact. It was a display of control that was more terrifying than simple destruction would have been. Supreme Commander Thox. Command ship lost power as human plasma torpedoes severed every major system simultaneously. His ship drifted helplessly as human vessels surrounded it like predators circling wounded prey. Impossible accuracy, Lieutenant Grex reported with professional admiration despite their desperate situation. They are hitting specific systems without damaging anything else. They want us alive. Thock realized. This is not about victory. This is about sending a message. The battle lasted exactly 43 minutes from the moment the human reinforcements arrived. When it ended, the combined alien fleet of 800 ships had been reduced to floating wreckage. Less than 50 vessels remained capable of independent movement, and those only because the humans had chosen to spare them. Human losses were minimal. 3 frigates had sustained minor damage when alien weapons managed to find their targets during the initial confusion. 0 ships were destroyed. 0 crew members were killed. Admiral Davis opened a communication channel to all surviving alien vessels. His image appeared on screens throughout the remnants of both fleets, and his calm voice carried across space to reach ears that had expected to die in glorious battle. "Admiral Veltar, Supreme Commander Thock, General Vac, you fought bravely, but you have lost. Prepare to be brought aboard my flagship for formal surrender." The 3 alien leaders were transported to the Constitution under heavy guard. They walked through corridors filled with human crew members who watched them with curiosity rather than hatred. These people had just won the greatest military victory in galactic history, but they showed none of the bloodthirsty celebration the aliens expected. In the flagship's main conference room, the 3 defeated commanders faced Admiral Davis across a simple metal table. The human admiral looked exactly as calm as he had during their previous meeting, as if the complete destruction of their fleets was merely a minor inconvenience. "You underestimated us," Admiral Davis said without gloating. "That was a costly mistake." Admiral Veltar looked at the tactical displays showing the scope of the human victory. "How many ships do you actually have?" "More than enough," Admiral Davis replied. "What you attacked today was less than half of our total fleet strength. Supreme Commander Thok leaned forward aggressively despite his desperate situation. "What do you want from us?" "The same thing I offered before your attack. Submission to human authority and integration into our galactic order." General Vac, who had advocated for war from the beginning, now looked broken and defeated. "And if we refuse?" Admiral Davis activated a holographic display showing the current positions of human fleets throughout the galaxy. Hundreds of ships were revealed in systems the aliens thought were empty, positioned to strike at every major alien world simultaneously. "You have no military capability left to refuse anything," Admiral Davis said. "Your fleets are destroyed. Your home worlds are defenseless. You will accept our terms or face immediate occupation." Dr. Kate Wilson entered the room carrying formal surrender documents. "These agreements establish the new political structure of this galaxy," she explained. "Both the Zephyrian Empire and Krex Coalition become protectorates of the Terran Federation." The terms were exactly what Admiral Davis had offered before the battle. Tribute payments, technology transfers, human oversight of alien governments. The only difference was that the aliens no longer had any choice in the matter. Admiral Veltar signed first, his hand shaking as he put his mark on documents that ended his civilization's independence. Supreme Commander Thok followed, his signature angry but resigned. General Vac was the last to sign, his warrior's pride broken by the scope of his defeat. 6 months later, President Helen Carter stood before the rebuilt United Nations building on Earth, addressing a crowd that represented all of humanity. Behind her, holographic displays showed human colonies being established throughout the galaxy. "Today marks the beginning of a new age," President Carter announced. "Humanity has taken its rightful place as the dominant species in this galaxy. We have proven that human ingenuity, determination, and technological superiority are unmatched among the stars." In the crowd, Admiral Paul Davis stood with his senior staff, watching the celebration with quiet satisfaction. The galaxy was now under human control, but the real work was just beginning. Captain Jake Morris, recently promoted to Admiral, had been given command of the first major human colony world in former alien space. New Terra, as it was named, would serve as the capital of human expansion into the galactic core.